Hey, folks, welcome to American Agenda. I'm Bob Sellers.
And I'm Heather Childers. Thank you so much for joining us today. We do begin with this heartbreaking story out of Los Angeles. Now, 10-year-old Anthony Avalos died after his own mother and her boyfriend allegedly tortured him, sexually molested him, and murdered the boy. This happened back in 2018. Well, now the case is causing more outrage after the city's newly elected liberal district attorney, George Gascon, ordered the county to drop efforts to seek the death penalty against the two accused killers. Joining us now to discuss are Anthony's aunt and uncle, Maria and David Barron, and their attorney, Brian Claypool. Thank you very much for joining us. I will start with you, Maria. I was reading through the details of the story, and horrific is not a strong enough word for what happened to this little boy. Tell us a little bit just about him and the circumstances in which he was living.
Anthony was just a happy, loving child, and unfortunately, a few years back we tried to save him from that situation, and DCFS took the kids away from us and gave them back to Heather. And unfortunately, I can only imagine how many years of abuse Anthony had to go through with Heather and Kareem, and we're just here to make sure that he gets the proper justice that he deserves.
What do you think that justice is?
I think they need to go and get the death penalty, because even though it hasn't been practiced since 2006, I feel like just them knowing that it's coming, they're not going to know when. It's going to put a lot of pressure on them. And I just think that, Anthony and his siblings, they deserve this, and they need to be punished.
Yeah. Brian, Heather obviously was Anthony's mother. She and her boyfriend were both charged with first-degree murder in this case. And the original DA had said that the death penalty, or had recommended the death penalty, was on the table. But then a new DA came in and took the death penalty off the table. Is that how it transpired?
Yeah, Heather, nice to see you again. That's exactly how it happened. And this new DA, his name's George Gascon. He reminds me of the Tin Man in The Wizard of Oz. Remember the Tin Man was searching for a heart? Well, Gascon doesn't have a heart. He's heartless, and he's searching for a heart. Because what he did is he came in, Heather, and he did not do the following before he decided to remove the death penalty. He failed to review thousands of pages of a grand jury transcript. This was a grand jury indictment. There was tons of evidence, tons of testimony in those grand jury transcripts. Gascon didn't read one single document. He never picked up the phone one time to call Maria or David to ask them, hey, what do you think we should do? Should we take this off the table? He never even spoke to the prosecuting attorney, John Hatami, before deciding to remove the death penalty. So what he has done, he has used a 10-year-old boy who was tortured, murdered, sexually assaulted. He had hot sauce thrown on his face. He was forced to squat for hours. I reviewed the photographs of Anthony. Gascon didn't. His body, Heather, was bruised from head to toe. And yet this guy comes in and he's now using a 10-year-old murdered boy as a pawn to simply promote this radical social agenda and experiment.
Yeah, it sounds like it's a policy. It's a policy, Brian. It sounds like he applies to everything, because when you think of death penalty cases, they are the worst of the worst. And when that little boy, 10 years old, was brought into the ER doctor said, oh, my God, how did this happen? So, David, I wanted to ask you, you must have seen this happening, because going back to 2013, Child Protective Services got involved in some fashion, but it looks like that failed.
Anthony came out and reported to me that he was molested by my stepfather. And then we called and made the reports, but my sister was able to brush it under the rug, and she was scared that she was going to be in trouble for allowing it to happen. But we saw little bits here and there, but she always had an excuse why they had a bruise, or they did it to each other. They got hurt playing. And then once the kids finally came out and told me, I said, there's no way that we're letting this go. And I called the sheriffs right there and then.
Yeah. What level of responsibility do you hold Child Protective Custody in this? Because from 2013 to 2017, 4 years, they were supposedly monitoring this child. I know that there had been some reports that were made, I think, Brian, from a teacher, at least one teacher.
It's Heather, it's staggering. We currently are prosecuting a $75 million lawsuit in civil court against the LA County DCFS. You mentioned the teacher. You mentioned a therapist. There were at least 12 other reports in which DCFS went out to the house. And in fact, I read one report where a social worker, she observed Anthony getting hit in the face, and she still allowed Anthony to stay in that home. And I'll leave you with this. When we go to trial against the county, the first thing we're going to play in opening statement is a phone call that one of the social workers made to the hotline, to the abuse hotline. She calls up the hotline and she giggles and laughs and said, I've got to call in an abuse claim against Anthony Avalos, but I'm just doing it to CYA. Can you believe that?
No, that's stunning. Maria, I didn't want to leave before we had a chance to give you an opportunity to recall Anthony in the most positive way, because all reports are that he was sweet, he was smart, he was a great student. Tell us a little bit about him.
He was the kindest kid. He always was willing to put in an effort and help out around school, around his house, with his siblings, with his cousins. As soon as he would walk through that door, we would receive hugs and kisses. All he wanted was love. And even with everything, I know he loved his mother. He was just a good kid.
Thank you for sharing that.
A beautiful kid.
Go ahead.
And he wanted just to stay with us. He wanted to be a part of our Barron family, and we were willing to take him in and his siblings. And, that opportunity was taken away by DCFS, and now we can no longer see Anthony. I had hopes that when he got older, he would reach out, he would look for us, and we could reminisce, show him all the pictures, the videos, and now that opportunity has been taken away from us, and life will never be the same without him.
Thank you so much for sharing that. We're so sorry for your loss, and that the system failed you. And it looks at this point as if justice is not being served to what a lot of people feel it should be. And that's one of the reasons we wanted to talk to you. We'd like to see justice served here. Thank you so much.
Yeah, we won't stop fighting. We're going to keep going. We're going to keep pushing harder than ever. And I know there's a lot of people that stand behind us. And I'm thankful for everyone. But justice for Anthony, Gabriel, and Noah, we're going to keep fighting. We're not going to stop.
And he would have been 13 this past Saturday, right, Maria?
Yeah. 13, he would have been a teenager. So it's always bittersweet knowing the possibilities of what could have been. And unfortunately, thanks to Heather and Kareem, it's not going to happen.
Yeah. All right. Well, Maria and David, Brian.
Heather, real quick, there's also a recall of the current DA that's taking place. They're gathering signatures now. We need a little over 500,000 signatures. So it could possibly be on the ballot in November to recall this DA.
Well, we will make sure people know about that. Brian, David, Maria, thank you all for sharing the story with us, and good luck.
Thank you.
All right.